Welcome back. Let's finish up our CSS for this project. This is part of the Intro to HTML, CSS, JavaScript series. My name is Sharisa. I'm an educator, designer, and developer that is passionate about e-learning development. I want to jump right in and go to fonts.google.com. And I'm going to show you how to go grab those fonts that we talked about in the last video. If you missed that video, I urge you to go back and give that a listen or a watch. So we're going to start with Poppins is what I chose for the H1s. And okay, there it is. I'm going to click into there, and then there's this blue button, Get Font. It's going to put it in this suitcase over here and save it for me. I'm going to go collect all of my fonts at once. So H2 Cabin is one that I decided that I liked. And so I'm going to click on that. Again, Get Font. And then the last one, last but not least, because it's going to take most of the page, I will warn you that Montserrat is very much overused. I was forbidden to use it for my college final, but I love it. It's readable. It's really round, and I like round fonts for readability. So I don't know if you saw that. I clicked on the embed code right here. So I'm clicking on this little suitcase. I'm going to go get the embed code. And this is what would go in the head if we weren't working in CodePen. We would put these links in the head. I'm going to show you where to find the head in CodePen. Go to HTML. And then right here, stuff for the head. Somebody at CodePen has a sense of humor. There we go. Great. So what that did is that linked to the Google fonts, but I've not actually implemented them yet. So let's get those implemented. Here we go. Let's body. Let's change that. You can grab the code for that right here. That's where you can find it. And we're going to paste. And voila, big changes. I am going to lighten this. So font weight, I'm going to drop it to 300. 400 is the default. You see a change there. And I'm going to change the font size. 16 would be the default. I'll show you what 20 pixels would look like. I tried that, thought it was kind of large, and so let's try 18. I think that's nice right in the middle. And then things still look really cramped. Let's look at our Medium article. So what's different? They've got some good spacing, right? It's much easier on the eye, more readable. I'm going to implement that in my project as well with a line height of 1.6, so not quite double spacing. There we go, getting a little bit of relief. So I would consider this part of my global CSS. I'm going to show you how to make a comment in CSS really quickly. / asterisk. Here's what I want to put in my comment, and then the reverse. So that section is about our globals. And then here I've got a section on, section, my header. So there's that. Okay, perfect. And let's do a little bit more work in our header. Let's start by styling this P tag. I need some space below that subheading. So I can't just use P because I've got several Ps, several paragraphs on the page, and if I use P, it will target all of them, and I don't want to do that. So what I've used here is an identifier. You can see the syntax, ID equals quotes and then the name. And when I want to call it in CSS, or when I want to target it, I would use a hashtag for the ID, and then title subheading. Okay, perfect. Curly braces. And let's just give it a padding bottom. I want kind of a lot of padding, so let's do 2 rem. There's that. Perfect. And if you remember rem, there's rems, ems, pixels that we can use as our units. And rem is the value of the root size of our font, which we changed to be 18. So 2 rem just really means 36 pixels. But if I want to go change it and say, no, I did like the 20 after all, I don't have to go back and change all of the paddings they all change proportionately. So I really like that. Let's move on to the image. Okay, there's only one image on the page, so I can use image. I will have to change that when I add more images, but for now, just for brevity, let's do that. I am going to give it a border radius, so those pointy edges, and I'm going to give it a border radius of 50%, and that's actually going to make it completely round, which matches what we saw on Medium. I like that. And I am going to put the width here in the CSS and remove it from up here. Notice it got bigger because I gave it a different width down here. This width in the CSS will override what is in the HTML. I'm going to remove that. It is too big. I did like the 70. I just wanted you to see that it would override. You don't want to have the same code in two different places, especially when one just overrides the other. There's an entire subject on clean code. Look it up. But for our code to be clean, we do not want things in multiple places as much as possible. If you make one design change, you don't want to change it in all sorts of places. Kind of like using rems. It changes things all over when I make one change to my font size at the root of my project. So it's very similar to that. Okay, so let's move on down the page. And I think that's good for the header for right now. Oh, I do want to change the H1 font. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to grab the code for Poppin, and I'm going to, and you can just do this from memory as well, but I just don't want to misspell everything while I'm in a hurry. And I am going to make that font just a little bit bigger. So I did hit save, and that's why things automatically formatted. Let's do font size of 2.5 rems. H1s are by default 2 rems, but I want it just a little bit bigger. Okay, so there's our header, and we're going to have a section for our main. So I can just do that right now in my comments, and then we're going to have a section for the footer. I'm going to jump down to the footer. So repetition, really important design principle. I'm going to go ahead and use a repetition of this teal. I haven't used it anywhere else, so let's do it. So my selector is footer. There's my declaration code block. Again, I'm going to do background, teal, color, white. Now, if all I was changing about my header and my footer was the background and the color, I do want to show you this. I could do header, comma, footer, and this would be cleaner code, because if later I decide that I want to change this color, then I can do that. There's an even better way to do it, and that's using CSS variables. I will do a video just on CSS variables, but it's out of the scope of this video to try to keep it short. I am also going to do text align center. Good. Notice I'm not styling the size of this copyright in my CSS. Small is a semantic tag that is surrounding that copyright because it is kind of this legal thing, and that is semantically correct for that. I am going to add some padding. Let's do 2 rem all the way around. And for consistency, I have 2 rem left and right up here on my header. I don't need 4 rem top and bottom, so and I don't feel like that's a repetition thing. In my main, well, number 1, do I have ordered list? I do. Why is my ordered list not showing any numbers? That is a very interesting thing. Okay, I'll get back to that in just a minute. So let's add a wrapper to give us some space all around this project. I am just going to go grab that code. Over here, I am going to put it under the global section. It's kind of global-ish. And let's put it here. Perfect. Now, I don't have anything that has an ID of wrapper. I'm going to put it here just to show you what it would look like if the wrapper was around everything inside the body. So all of my 3 parent elements, if they all had a wrapper that had this code, let's see what that would look like. Oh, I have to add the ID to make it work. There. Okay, now we're in business. So what that did was give me this padding of 3 rem top and bottom, 2 rem left and right. I know it looks like it's more than 2 rem, but look, when I bring it all the way in, you can see it's 3 top and bottom. And then what's happening here is it's just never getting any bigger than that max width of 768. You can see the same kind of thing is happening on this medium site. If I were to bring this down, see, it never changes in its size, in its width. That is because we do not want our line lengths to be more than 50 to 70 characters. That's the standard in the industry, mattering on the size of our font, the choice of our font. That could be a different max width. I haven't actually counted to see, so maybe somebody can count for me, if that's 50 to 70. If it's not, if it's too few, then maybe I would make this max width a little bit less or a little bit more and adjust it. I do want to show you what the margin auto is for. If I remove this line of code, it's no longer centered on the page. So I'm going to put that back. I don't want any margins top and bottom. I've already got some margins top and bottom. But I do want to center it. And the way to do that is margin left auto, margin right auto, but this would be a shorthand way to write that. But I don't like all of this, like white space above here. I really want my header to go all the way across the page. So in order to do that, I am going to move this just around the main. So now my wrapper is wrapping only around the main. That's the effect that I'm looking for. Now I don't like the way these numbers are just sticking out, so let's fix that next. Ordered list, and I'm gonna give it a padding. I could do padding left of 1 rem, but I actually would like some padding from the top and the bottom. Just give it a little space. Say, hey, this is a little different than the introduction. Okay, good, I'm liking that. And while we're at the ordered list, I am gonna just mess with these links a little bit. I'm not fond of the blue links. I know it does make it very obvious to people that, hey, this is a link, it screams link, and it's great, but I'm just not really fond of that. And if you look at the medium, if we go back here, you can see they made theirs black too. And I am gonna make it that once it's visited, that it changes color. And for repetition, I am going to make that the same teal color. So got a little bit of a color palette going on here. Not much, but just a little bit. Okay, that is looking pretty good. Now, what I'm not liking is the way that this text is all running together. I want to use the principle of proximity to show the divisions of content. So this content should be separate from this content. So I'm gonna go grab my section padding that I chose. I did tweak this a bunch, and so I decided where I wanted that. And voila, so much easier on the eye. We've got some white space, and even more important, it shows where the chunks of information are. It is important to know that 97%, in one article I read, of people skimming websites or reading websites only read these headlines. So you want it to be very clear that this is a subject and this is a subject. And if one of these subjects stands out to them, maybe they'll take the time to read the paragraph. But for the most part, they're searching for specific information and they're skimming these headlines to find it. I do think I've got everything styled. Let's kind of look at this one. Okay, to see what we've got. And then this one, let's go back and forth. There's slightly different widths. I do think my this right here is a little bit smaller. So let's do font size. Let's do 1.25. And I don't think I ever implemented the H2s and H3s in my main section. So let's do that too. Okay. Again, if I was doing it exactly the same, I could do H2, comma H3, but they will be slightly different. So I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to go grab that code for cabin right from here. So there's that. H2s, I'll do a font size of 1.5 rem. And let's do this really all the same. It's probably a way I can make this a little cleaner, but right now I'm just going to do it this way. Okay, there we go. Now we have implemented the font pairing that we worked so hard to get. And I think it's a good readable size, good readable spacing. We've got some white spacing. The footer is not going all the way across. Let me see why that is happening. My closing div is, because I didn't actually close the div, did I? There we go. Found the error. Okay, there we go. Thank you for watching. There will be more videos to come. I plan on doing one on how to move all of this into VS Code and deploy it to GitHub and GitHub pages and just some other following videos. But thank you for watching these first 3. I hope they've been helpful to you. Thank you.